Today's video might surprise you. Why does excessive use of steroids and HGH accelerate aging? We used to think that HGH is the fountain of youth. Well, latest research shows not really. So today we focus on mTOR, which stands for mammalian of rapamycin. mTOR is a protein in our cells that acts like a control center for various cellular functions. It regulates important functions within the cell, like growth, metabolism, and communication between the cells. Think of mTOR as a traffic cop that receives signals from different sources, such as nutrients, energy levels, and growth factors. And based on these signals, mTOR decides whether to give green light for cell growth, divide, or any other tasks. And here are some of the benefits of elevated mTOR signaling. First, we have muscle growth and repair. mTOR is essential for activation in skeletal muscle, which is necessary for muscle protein synthesis and muscle growth. Without mTOR activation, the body couldn't recover or grow muscle. Then we have tissue regeneration. After an injury or trauma, mTOR activation is essential for crucial roles in repairing the tissue and to regenerate. And then we have immune response. So mTOR activation is very important for the immune system. It regulates the immune cell growth, differentiation, and the production of antibodies. So without that, the immune system would tank. And then we have nutrient sensing. So mTOR acts as a sensor for nutrients availability, particularly amino acids like leucine. That's why BCAAs are so important for muscle growth, because it activates mTOR. And in conditions of nutrient abundance, mTOR activation promotes protein synthesis and cell growth, which means it activates muscle growth. And that's why the BCAAs, which has leucine in there, is so important. And the next one is memory formation. Latest research has shown that mTOR is even important and linked to synaptic plasticity and memory formation in the brain. So, as you can see, it has many benefits. But now let's look at the downside of chronic elevated mTOR. And based on chronic elevation of mTOR signaling, it has shown that it accelerates aging and age-related diseases come with it. And now it's getting interesting. Human growth hormone, HGH, and certain anabolic steroids activate mTOR signaling. And these can increase protein synthesis, cell growth, and repair, which means you recover quicker, you build muscles, you look good, you feel good, which is why it's used, for recovery and muscle growth for many athletes, and particularly in bodybuilding. However, the downside of long-term and excessive use of steroids or HGH can accelerate aging. Think about it, because mTOR signaling is activated 24/7 and it never turns off. And it's supposed to be turned on after workout or after some signaling pathways when you eat amino acids, to build muscles and to recover. But then when it's not needed, it's supposed to be suppressed, because cell growth equals aging, growth, aging, which, if you want to break it down to formulation. And there have been many studies that have shown that chronic elevation of mTOR is associated with aging, and later on, diseases that come with aging. So especially if it's like elevated, constant elevated, like 24/7, or dysregulated, which can happen if you take excessive amount of HGH or steroids. And another good example is IGF-1 and insulin. So those two will also activate mTOR, particularly in response to elevated blood sugar. So that's why, sugar itself, we know, ages you 7 times quicker because of the glycation process that takes place, and it starts binding with proteins and fats and starts malforming, crystallize, get deposit in your skin, start cross-linking, and it breaks down the collagen and the elastins. That's another reason, why sugar ages you quicker. But so with insulin and IGF-1 and all the steroids on top of that and sugar, well, it can accelerate it even more. And then we have some of the medications, such as certain immune suppressants or anti-rejection drugs, can also affect the mTOR signaling pathways. Then we have chronic inflammation like rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease, and chronic infections can also sustain the mTOR signaling and also can speed up the aging process. And our last one is obesity, which is a state of chronic low-grade inflammation. The adipose tissue inflammation can activate also mTOR, which is contribute to metabolic dysregulation and increased risk of age-related diseases. So to sum it all up, as you can see, mTOR activation has many benefits and it's necessary for life and cell growth. However, it becomes problematic if it's constant, elevated, chronically elevated, or dysregulated, which can happen with using certain drugs in excessive amount. Remember, I said excessive amount. I'm not talking about TRT or anything. So that's when it becomes problematic. And if you want to pay the price, if you want to look good for like 10-15 years and feel good, keep in mind, on the long run, it's not going to help you. On the long run, it might shorten your life depending on how much you take. So with that in mind, I want to let you go, think about that. And, unfortunately, anything that makes you, grow faster equals with aging. If you break it down to the formulation, growth equals aging. And that's unfortunately how it is. But remember, I want to say it again, I'm talking about excessive amounts, okay? And also like the duration, if you take it like in year after year without a break, well, that is also, chronic elevated. So keep in mind, anything in life comes back to the yin and yang, everything has to be in perfect balance, including this one. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section.